Today is a continuation of our XM Cloud webinar series. And if you've missed any of the previous sessions, please check out Sitecore.com to learn more about XM Cloud, the business benefits of XM Cloud, and a deeper dive of the overall product. But today's goal is really to take a closer look at our new components run as a service product. We'll have questions open in the session if you want to drop one in there. And if we have some time remaining at the end, we can try to answer a few. But either way, Sitecore will be in touch with a formal response for any questions as a follow-up. As a way of introduction, my name is Roger Connolly. I'm the VP of Product for the Content Cloud. I've been with Sitecore for about 7 years, been in the industry for about 20 plus. I'm a reformed New Yorker, currently living here in Brussels, Belgium with my family and really enjoying the European life. With me today is Peter Brinkman, VP of Technical Marketing, also a longtime Sitecore, 12 years, 20 years in the industry, and he lives with his family, 4 kids in Rotterdam, the Netherlands. So as a quick kind of recap of kind of the overall Sitecore product strategy, this is our composable DXP as it stands today. And each one of our composable products, the hexagons you see here, are MAC. And what that means is they're microservices-based, API-first, cloud-native, and headless. And that means that you can plug and play really easily any of these elements together. And you can assemble your unique stack using Sitecore, or you can choose to use alternative components from other vendors. And our commitment here is that each Sitecore product will be best in class and work standalone in any best-of-breed stack. However, we're developing the products to be better together, to provide a full end-to-end logically connected digital experience platform for our customers who want to partner more strategically with Sitecore, and will reduce the integration load that comes with a composable DXP while not limiting you to integrate with any other vendor. But whether you buy 1 product or 10 products for Sitecore, our commitment remains the same. We will be a friendly neighbor in your stack and offer open APIs to make it easy to connect to other vendors in your stack. Our strategy is really to grow our leadership in content and disrupt and innovate in engagement in commerce. And this is about a continuation of our leading position in the industry. We've defined the industry before, and we will do this again. We were one of the original vendors that defined the WCMS category, and we innovated to push WCMS to ultimately become the digital experience platform category, again setting pace for the industry. And today, we're now on a mission to redefine the category once more with our composable DXP. So as a quick reminder for everybody, XM Cloud is offering a combination of headless architecture, enterprise features, and cutting-edge technology. And with XM Cloud, you can create, manage, and deliver content quickly and easily with lightning-fast performance with global scale and flexibility. It's been built to be cloud-native, offering scaling, elastic scaling, and eliminating compatibility and upgrade issues. It's also Jamstack ready, which makes it easy to deploy in any scenario. And it comes with powerful personalization and real-time analytics fully integrated into the authoring interface. XM Cloud therefore makes it easy to deliver customized and engaging experiences to your visitors. And so let's zoom in a little bit on the different parts of XM Cloud, starting with XM Cloud Sites. Now with XM Cloud Sites, you can manage complex multi-site, multilingual experiences. And using our new intuitive interfaces, you can quickly and easily create new sites without the need for a developer. Simply choose from an existing set of templates and customize them to meet your specific needs. Now that you have a site set up, you can now start to build some pages with XM Cloud Pages. And XM Cloud comes with next-generation visual authoring. There are many benefits of headless development, but what we continue to hear from marketers is that they still want the ability to visually author their digital experiences with a modern front-end visual builder. This gives them the ability to quickly react to the ever-changing demands of their customers. And the reality is most headless products don't offer this capability, but XM Cloud does. With XM Cloud, you can create pixel-perfect front-end experiences for any user interface using your data and your components. And by being able to build it once using it everywhere, you make the page building process much more efficient and cost-effective. With XM Cloud, everything is composable by design. You can combine templates, components, static content, dynamic content, and media all in one place. And this makes it easy to create powerful and engaging pages. And as a reminder for everybody, we'll also have embedded personalization and analytics as part of XM Cloud. So if you hadn't had a chance to check it out, please take a look at our hands-on demo for XM Cloud from a few weeks back or view it on demand at Sitecore.com. Now, alongside this new XM Cloud Pages capability is a new overhaul of our component design features. And XM Cloud Components provides you with low-code, no-code visual designing capabilities for components. And these components offer you the ability to create pixel-perfect responsive design elements that can be used in your front-end experiences. They're personalization ready and can be delivered headlessly. The Sitecore Component Builder allows you to build and manage components for any scenario. You can build a component from scratch with the Component Builder UX, or develop it in code and then registered for use in XM Cloud by your marketers or your business users. And the best part is that these components can be powered by content from across our products, not just from XM Cloud, but also from Content Hub and Content Hub One. And as an added bonus, can be powered by content from any API, even from some of our competitors. So Composable DXP enables effective collaboration across teams. And this includes the business and the builders. And so you might be thinking to yourself, who's the ideal persona for a product like components, and how does it benefit my organization? And so one of the things we see, and it's reflected in a lot of what the analysts are saying, is the evolution of the role of the business technologist. And the business technologist is either one of two types of individuals. One is either a trained full-time developer that might be embedded directly in a department like marketing, or it could be a citizen developer who's an employee that actually creates application capabilities for consumption by themselves or by others, and actually kind of help automate and kind of move their business along. And typically they report to a business unit or function other than IT. And so no-code and low-code tools are really revolutionizing the way organizations build and deploy applications. And by embracing these concepts, businesses can unlock a range of benefits, transforming their creative and development processes. And we see this particularly being true for marketing-led organizations. And Gartner specifically says that by the end of 2023, business technologists will outnumber actual developers 4-to-1 by the end of this year. And so with a tool like Components, it offers significant business benefits in terms of empowering business stakeholders to drive innovation, to provide rapid prototyping and iterative tools to reduce the time to value or time to market that's often traditionally required by software development. And this agility really gives them the ability to respond swiftly to changing market conditions, customer needs, and emerging opportunities without the need to engage additional resources. Oftentimes there's better alignment by teams that actually properly kind of move forward with business technologists by bringing business closer to the application development process and building a much more enhanced collaboration between themselves and their IT organization. But this also brings with it other benefits to some of your more specifically skilled employees, like your creatives and your developers. And so low-code, no-code development is really revolutionizing the way organizations can build these solutions. And for creatives and developers, it kind of frees them up to do much more higher value activities for the business. Designers and artists and other creatives can now channel most of their energy into working on the next groundbreaking creative project. And so with the Sitecore Component Style Builder that Peter will show you, a lot of iterative tweaks and kind of repetitive tasks are streamlined, so creatives can really kind of focus on innovation and pushing the boundaries of their craft. And for developers, we can shift their attention away from some of the kind of small kind of development changes needed to tweak a component and actually move them again to that next big thing as well that's really going to propel the business forward. So as you can see, a lot of great benefits provided by tools such as Sitecore Components. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Peter, and he's going to take you into the product and show you more.
All right. Thank you, Roger. During this webinar, I will introduce multiple parts of XM Cloud Components. We will talk about those different parts, which include the Components Builder and the Design System. After we introduce those two parts, we'll focus on building components. I'll start off with creating a component from static content, and then we'll move on creating components from data sources. First one using a data source from XM Cloud, and then a demo of creating a component that will use an external data source from a third-party application. We'll wrap up the demo with placing those components inside your page using XM Cloud Pages. So before we dive into the demo, I want to start the introduction of XM Cloud Components. And what's the better way of doing this by answering the question, what is a component? So a component is a visual, reusable building block that can be used to design the page of your website or your web shop. Each component has different purposes and functionalities. Sometimes you might just want to display some text or images, and sometimes you want to do more advanced things with call for action or more sophisticated functionalities. In the case of this screenshot that you see here on the slide, we have several components in place, but we're going to focus here in this example on the bottom text and image component. So here there's one text and image component. The good thing about a component is that you can reuse that UI of the component itself. So I basically added the same component below. And the great thing about a component is that it can have a data source. So I can select and change the data source. So it's the same UI, but now with a different data source. Even cooler about components is that you can use the same component and you can use it on different pages. That on that page, it could still share that same data source. So you can manage the content centrally and you can manage the UI of that component centrally inside core XM Cloud Components. So what is an XM Cloud Components? And Roger already touched on this. So XM Cloud Components is that in-browser funded as a service. It's what you see is what you get component builder. So XM Cloud Components adds an option to XM Cloud to enable marketers to take more responsibility in the component creation process. So this doesn't mean that we're going to replace developers completely, and we'll talk about that later on in this webinar. What you can see, this really works like design items or molecules. So other components will be used to create functional UI components from scratch. So you can connect these components in a wide variety of data sources and power them by data flowing either from Sitecore data sources, but also from any other provider. XM Cloud Components will allow you to design the styles like you know from a style sheet and provide theming, but then a visual interface. And the great thing about all this is that those components are reusable. So these components are basically once defined and then created, and then they're available inside core XM Cloud pages. So when a user is in pages and is doing their page composition and their experience orchestration, they can choose components from the XM Cloud Components library. So these components can be built by development teams, by marketing teams, designers, and content creators. XM Cloud is divided into three main areas. So we have the component builder to assemble and build those components. We have the styles, which is really the design system where you define that. And then we have data sources where we can import data from other content providers. So let's go through them one by one before we start the demo. The first one is the component builder. So let's dive in there. In the component builder, we can organize and build components. And components can be grouped in collections to make it easier to manage all these different components that you might create. Each component can be built out of several elements, such as cards, badges, buttons, paragraphs, headlines, links, images, or any other component. Components can have different versions. So this can be the variation of the same content displayed into different UIs or handling responsive based on different devices. So very powerful. So let's take a look on how that component builder looks inside core XM Cloud Components. Let me start by creating a new collection. Collections help to organize the components. The same structure will be used in the toolbox in XM Cloud Pages when adding my component to a page, and we'll see that later. I'll name my collection Component Introduction. I'll click Save, and then I'll add my first component to it. The component needs to have a name. I'll call it Hero Teaser. You can add an optional description here if you like and select the collection that you want to store in. So by default, my latest collection will be selected here. I'll save and then I'll start editing the component. On my canvas or in the section, I can add new elements. As mentioned before, I have multiple elements like text, box or inline of it, elements available, but also variables, links, images, component and HTML blocks. I'll add that card now. So the component will cover the whole width, and I want to use a 2-column setup for my component. So now I'll copy some content from the sitecore.com website. I want to recreate it and paste it into my card. And as you can see, the design is replicated in my card. Let me also add that button that we have on sitecore.com. And I'll change then that label to read more. So now I want to add that image that we have. So I'm going to add an element here, and I want to have it to the right hand side in the other part. And I need to have a source here. So for the source, the data source of the image, I will use a static image and I'll use the URL from sitecore.com, which I already copied. But I want to see this image in the full background. So I'm going to change that setting, and I want the card covering the whole section. So this already looks pretty much like that component we saw on sitecore.com. So let me change the theme that I pre-created to the dark theme. And now it looks even closer to the original. And this is all without writing a single line of code. So in order to be able to add this later into Pages, I need to publish it and put it into staging. Let's move to XM Cloud. You can here see all the frontend as a service components, and you can already see the different collections. So in the component introduction, I can select my hero teaser and drag it into the pages, and you can see the component showing up. Let's talk a bit more about that styles and that design system. So in the demo, you saw me changing from one theme to a dark theme, which changed how that component look and feel. And that's all being defined at style section where you define your themes. So we can define the design system through a visual design builder. So it's similar as you would define your styles in the style sheet, but just visually. So this can be seen as building a house. So before you can work or live in the house, we need to set it up once. And then so let's take a look at the different part of this design system. So if we keep that house analogy going, we usually would start with the basics when you build a house. For example, you choose the bricks or the colors of the bricks. So this is what we do here at the basic part. We define the fonts, we define the colors that we want to use. So your design colors and your brand colors, the graphic sets you want to use, the icon sets you want to use, and then the different devices as breakpoints that you want to support in your experience. Then in the second part, you want to basically use that cement to bring those bricks together. All right. So we define rules as the typography, meaning which fonts would you use for different purposes and different sizes, and should they all be displayed in capital letters, and all these different things you can define here. You have decorations, how you would show boxes, buttons, cards, how are they displayed. And then we define fills with colors and different effects that you might want to have. And then at the end, we'll wrap it up with standards like spacing for padding and margins between the different elements. So once those rules are defined, we're able to set up the walls for a house, meaning that we can set up the elements that we built with. So we define text elements like heading and paragraph that using the typography and the colors. We define inline elements like buttons, badges and links. And we define block elements such as sections or cards using certain spacings, decorations and or fills. Then the final part here is really where we'll take the different walls and start building the house. And this is what we call themes. So a theme combines a setup for a text, inline or a block element. And then really, when we have defined those walls, we can build different houses. So really, different themes like a dark theme that we just used, a bright theme, you name it. So let's talk about data sources. Of course, Sitecore XM Cloud components can not only handle static content as I've shown you in the demo before. You can also fetch dynamic content, and therefore you can configure data sources. XM Cloud Components comes with native integration with XM Cloud Pages, where you could select then the data source that will then be used in your component. Also, custom data sources can be easily added, and you can import content from any other content provider out there, which could be from Sitecore, for example, Content One, but also from any other vendor or technology. Data sources allow fetching data from any GraphQL or REST endpoint. You can also use a static JSON object to mock up a response before having actual access to the data, making it possible to integrate with any marketing stack out there in a low-code and no-code solution. And this really provides you with a lot of flexibility for where you can get the content for your components from. So let's show this in a demo. In the demo, I want to show you 4 different things. I'm going to give you an introduction into the data sources. We're going to create a dynamic component using content from XM Cloud and showing how you can select the data source in XM Cloud Pages that will then be used in your component. We're going to create a component that will fetch data from Content Hub 1 using a GraphQL endpoint. And then we're going to apply all these components to your website using XM Cloud Pages. So let's dive in. In the data source section, I can find all the configured data sources. And there are already some custom ones that I made for other demos, but there's all ones that are connecting with the out-of-the-box components in XM Cloud, like image, link, promo, and text. So let's create a new component that uses the promo data source. So I add the component, which I would call then promo component, and I'll save it and I'll start editing. I'll add the card again and set the section layout to that similar 2-column design that we want to use. So when we set the 2 columns, let's add a paragraph for text and a heading. I think that's what we want to do about the card. So there's a text element, and let's do another one, a heading 3 we do. Then in the second column, we want to add an image, similar to the hero teaser that we created before. So now I want to map the heading 3 with a field of my data source. So I click map text and I select the promo data source coming from XM Cloud and select the promo text field to be used for my headline. For the paragraph, I select another field, which is the promo text 3 field as my source. For the image, I will select the promo icon source. And now we can stage it, and then we can go to Pages and see it. So it's available. So when I go into Pages, it can be found again in that collection, and I can just drag and drop on there like a normal component. The dialog window appears where I can select the data source. So now I'm going to look for my promo, and I'll select promo component 1. I can see that the content is now coming from XM Cloud, is displayed in my component, and again without writing any line of code, in a very quick and easy way. Of course, I can add the same component again to my page and now use a different data source. So let's find a data source and use promo 2 for this component. So I select promo 2, click assign, and you will see the same component is used, but now with different data set. I can also use any other data source. So let's go back to components and create one from a GraphQL endpoint. So I'm going to create one that gets the data from Content Hub 1, and it will show recipes from Content Hub 1. So we'll do there, I want to show 3 recipes in a row. So I'm going to select a 3-column layout design and then add cards inside that will have an image. I want to have a text block, a heading 1, and then underneath there, paragraph text. And I already pre-created the data source. So it connects against Content Hub 1 GraphQL's endpoint and fetches that data. This could be any vendor out there, any API endpoint that we use. So I request that list of portfolios, and I'm just going to select that data source that I'm going to use. So the Content Hub 1 data source. What I can do now, I can map the different fields from that API towards my component. So I want to map the title here to the recipe title from my API endpoint. I'll map the description to the paragraph text. And again, you can see the data is updated instantly in the background. And also content one will return a list of images. So I can select that first image that I want to use to show these different recipes, again from that map collection. So I'm going to select that mapped image, and then again you will see instantly that will show up from the source. As mentioned again from the beginning, I only want to show 3, and this is 4 results from the API. So I want to make sure that I limit the results of my collection to 3, and I can easily do that by using the